Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton. Now, if you follow my other channel and you don't follow this channel or vice versa, I am launching my first ever VC contest, and I give a lot of details and all the answers over on my main channel. So if you watch this channel and you don't watch that channel, there is a link up above in the description box up there, but I'm also going to include a link down below. But there is a question, and for the next few days, we're going to go on a little adventure. We're going to go bird hunting. We're going to talk about the band, the Byrds. Now, just a quick overview of the contest. Now, go to the other channel to check out the main stuff I talk about, but the grand prize is David Crosby's If I Could Only Remember My Name. It's open to anybody internationally. All I ask is that you put the link to your video to the questions down below. And the 5 questions are Byrds-related questions. There they are. There's 5 of them. What's your favorite Byrds album? Who could have been a member of the Byrds? That wasn't. What is your favorite post-Byrds album? Have you ever seen the Byrds or solo Byrds live? And name your favorite Byrds-inspired related artist. And so you can go over to my main channel, Tommy Burton's VC channel, and over there I will go into, I answer those questions. But, you know, it's all over there as well. It's open to anybody. Just put put your video down below. And thanks to everybody that subscribes and watches. But let's do today's Daily Record. And since we are kicking off a week on the Byrds, we're going to talk about the Byrds' very first album, Mr. Tambourine Man. This is the debut album. It came out on June 21st, 1965. And it was released on Columbia Records. And this album is widely regarded as the birth of folk rock. And mine is the Sundazed reissue, stereo copy. I also have, just to show you guys as a reference, I also have the mono edition as well, also on Sundays. But one of the most influential rock albums ever released. And of course it featured probably their biggest hit, the Bob Dylan song, the title track, Mr. Tambourine Man. And like I said, this was the birth of what became known as folk rock. And what had happened was Roger McGuinn, or Jim McGuinn at the time, was a folk musician playing in Greenwich Village. He'd come out to L.A., and he was performing in the coffee houses these folk songs, but he was kind of putting what he called a Beatle beat to it, a 2 and 4 on these songs. The folkies hated it, but the audiences loved it. And so when he started doing that, he got together with Gene Clark. And Gene Clark was also another folkie, and he was a songwriter. And they kind of formed this duo, doing like Peter and Gordon type stuff. And they were doing these Beatles songs. And along came another folk guy, David Crosby. And so after they kind of got together, they realized they wanted to kind of put together a rock band. So they found a mandolin player, put a bass in his hand, Chris Hillman. And like I said, he was a bluegrass player. They didn't know any rock and roll guys. And the famous story was they found drummer Michael Clark hanging out in front of the Troubadour because, according to Roger McGuinn, he looked like 2 of the Rolling Stones. He never played drums in his life. Well, they got together in the Wrecking Crew and sung the Bob Dylan song, Mr. Tambourine Man. It was released as a single with the Gene Clark song, I Knew I'd Want You, on the B-side. And it was a huge hit. It reached #1. And it was just, it was the birth of a sound. And so the band kind of improved as musicians. Michael Clark learned enough drums. There's a widely misconception that this album is studio musicians and that the Byrds don't actually play on it, but they do. As a matter of fact, the only thing they don't play on is the songs that were released as the single. Producer Terry Melcher decided that you know, they were competent enough to do it, but I think in hindsight, when you listen to this album, you can tell that it probably they weren't as good as the Wrecking Crew, but who was? But they were competent enough, and it's a fun album. Like I said, it is the sound of that jingle jangle 12-string Rickenbacker sound, the harmonies. Bells of Rimney, beautiful Pete Seeger folk song with soaring harmonies. A lot of people know the other Dylan, All I Really Want to Do. I'll Feel a Whole Lot Better, I think, is the standard. Everyone that picks up a 12-string guitar in a guitar shop, they play that riff. And several Dylan songs. There was definitely a link to Bob because of the band. There's a photo inside the gatefold. I guess you can see that right there in the middle of Mr. Dylan sitting in with the band at Sea Rose, LA on the Strip. But, a remarkable debut album, just full of confidence and just a sound that the Byrds would be known for. And so, very inspirational band. They were inspired by the Beatles. They, in turn, inspired the Beatles, as a lot of good musicians will do. But just a fantastic debut album. And the Byrds went through several incarnations after this, personnel changes, and they went on a wild musical ride with different members. Roger McGuinn being the only constant member that was there the whole time. And by the end, it was just his baby. But David Crosby left to join Crosby, Stills and Nash, obviously. Gene Clark, Chris Hillman was in the Flying Burrito Brothers, the Desert Rose Band. So, there's a lot of offshoots. So that's what we're going to talk about for the next few days. And so we're going to kick off our week of the Byrds. The contest ends on June 15th. Go to the other channel and check out the information on that, as well as what you heard here. Look forward to seeing your responses. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's TommyBurton75. And like, subscribe, comment, and share. And in the meantime, I'll see you all again tomorrow with another Daily Record.